What's up, YouTube? Prince Dragoon here. I'm gonna be doing the deck discussion of my own personal built deck, what I would like to call ZombieTricks. And basically, it's a variation between zombies, just general zombies like turbo zombies, and Ghost Trick, the Ghost Trick archetype itself. So let's just get right into it. Now, I always, with zombies, just everything out of the grave, a lot of special summoning. Zombie Master, I feel like Zombie Master is great for the deck. I run him at 2. Don't run him at 3 simply because he's going to be sitting in the hand too much, and you really want him save Zombie Master for bigger plays and stuff, because he's really gonna be what's gonna lead into your bigger plays in the deck and your stronger monsters into the deck and stuff. But Zombie Master, we have 2 Mizukis, and Mizuki, of course, for Zombie Master is just like it's just all graveyard shenanigans, basically. What it leads up to, and they're just gonna be all your rank 4 Xyzs here, except for Downard, but they're gonna be all your rank 4 Xyzs, and they're just really what pave the way of your OTK and such. Crane's huge in this deck simply because, of course, it plays with the whole Ghost Trick archetype, and of course the whole zombie archetype of raising monsters from the grave. Of course, in a way, I chose it over Tour Guide simply because, I mean, like, summoning from the grave is sometimes a bad thing, say, of course, against, like, Gravekeepers, which have gotten recently very popular with their support recently in Legacy of the Valiant, of course. But I feel like Crane just ties in better with a choice card that I added to the deck, Debris Dragon, which works with Jiangshi as well. Simply because, like, I mean, Debris Dragon for Black Rose is just a great play in Ghost Tricks, especially Ghost Trick OTKs the way that I've built it. You know, so it's just, I don't know, I feel like more than Tour Guide, it just ties in as a better piece in the whole all-around deck. You know, and it actually follows our type of Ghost Tricks and such. So that's why Cranes, keep them at 2, 3. 3's too much. You know, sometimes you just, like, say, like, if you just start out a hand, you know, with just 2 Cranes right in the hand and no other monsters to just set that would be able to just take a frontline smack for you and die for you. You know, you really don't want to just set a Crane or, you know, drop Crane for nothing. You know, so sometimes, you know, like, that will happen on the first turn hand. I have gotten that where drop a Crane and or, you know, like, you have to drop a Crane or set a Crane because you don't have anything in your graveyard, you know, for nothing. Now, 2 Steins, great card, Searcher, you know, but I only have as in spells, as in Ghost Trick spells itself or traps, I only have Panic and such, so that's why only 2 Steins, but he's one of the best level 3s you can get. 2 Mummies, simply because of field spam ability. He's great as well. You know, the defense, and that's one thing I feel like, just to say to everybody, that I feel like Zombie Master is a great choice for this deck, and simply it all seems to tie together simply because his defense is 0 and he's a dark type, as well as Stein, Mummy, Spectre, Lantern, Doulahan are all dark monsters, like, that are 0 defense, you know, and 0 defense and dark attribute, which all ties in with recurring nightmare. So I could see how they, like, kind of hinted that, or I'm not sure if that was, like, intentional or not, but I feel like it was, you know, to show that, like, oh, you know, like, Mummy and these guys were, like, meant to work together. Yeah, at least that's how I feel sometimes. But 2 Mummies for Field Flood, 1 Ghost Trick Ghoul. I used to run 2, but one sometimes his effect gets problematic to where you can't use it to its full potential, simply because it only allows 1 monster on your whole field to attack that turn, and it has to be a Ghost Trick. So, and I don't know, it's just on a full Ghost Trick grind game, it's great, but effect alone is, like not really that good, So I feel like one's enough. Three Jiangshi. The reason why I put three, I used to run two, but the only reason I put three, and two's fine as well. If you want to drop a third Jiangshi and add like a card D or something, that's good too. That's good too. Simply because the only reason I put third is because sometimes you just don't start out with Jiangshi in hand, and that's simply because you just might not have enough multiples of the card, in your deck. And I mean, whether you start first or whether you start second, Jiangshi start out is just the best start in the game the best start in the deck you can have. Of course, because I mean, no matter what, if any guy you want to die for you, or just be flip face up, take a hit for you, it's gonna be this guy. Two Ghost Trick marries, three's too much. I feel like two's good because you don't actually want to like depend on taking smacks to activate your effects. Of course. But do run two, because if you ain't running Marys, you're not really running Ghost Tricks. That's how I feel. But two specters, and that'll be it for the Ghost Tricks. And the reason I still have Lantern in here, but the reason I chose Spectre over Lantern is simply because when Jiangshi dies for a search effect, like say if they do climb over Jiangshi, you can add Spectre, and as soon as it dies, right from just his search effect, you can just drop Spectre, and it'll take the next attack as well as you're gonna draw one, keeping a great hand advantage. When going +1 is always great, and that's mainly what Ghost Tricks will depend upon. Is just keeping a constant hand advantage, no matter what happens on the field. You know. So that's why I feel like more than stopping two attacks, like I'll be able to stop the next attack and the attack after that. I do have them in the side, so don't think that I've completely abandoned Lantern. But I feel like just Spectre really should have been super rare, just like Lantern. I feel like, if anything. Two effect veilers, because of course hand traps are just great. It's Ghost Tricks, come on now. Hand traps, as well as it adds, and simply because I added Veiler, as hand traps, I just decided to add Envoy of the Beginning over Dark Armed, simply because I will say he's more situational than Dark Armed, but then again, I mean, sometimes you're not able to effectively control how many darks you have in your graveyard, you know, so that's why I feel like Dark Armed in the deck. I mean, it can be great, especially you get them out early or anything. You just happen to have them at a first draw, but more than anything, the easiest to summon, like say you just happen to have the Dark in the graveyard, and you just happen to have Effect Veiler in your graveyard. The easiest that's gonna be to summon, is just gonna be Black Daddy's, Black Daddy Luster Soldier. Debris Dragon for Black Rose. It's a great OTK, play with Book of Life when you go into it, because I mean, like over Exciton Knight, you can't really spam out damage after you use his effect, but Black Rose, just wipe everything. You can Book of Life into Master, after that Master into anything else that you want to set up your OTK and however you want to. Now, one Allure of Darkness, of course, just for draw power. One Burial from the Different Dimension for Mizuki's, just in case you can't get to like Levier play to bring him back. Burial from a Different Dimension does sometimes save, but sometimes it is not really that necessary, because I mean sometimes you just really need to just bring them back once and just go in for the OTK, and the OTK is really all you needed. So sometimes, I mean, it is better to, either side in or put in a card D. I really don't feel like Pot of Duality really does much for the deck. You really want to, like, draw as much as possible. You don't really, no matter what it is that you draw, you don't really want to, like, pick and choose what you draw and, like, let your opponent know what you have. Because the whole point of Ghost Tricks is, they play tricks, so your opponent doesn't really suspect, much of what's going on. You know, and that's mainly the whole strategy behind the deck, is that the ghost trick is just ghost trick grind game until you find that one opportune moment where you find your opponent weak. You can drop the master, go into Mizuki, go into Lavo Chain, and just uh, see if you can just climb over whatever they do have on the field, you know, to go for OTK and such. Concealing light because it's staples. Recurring nightmares just to get back your specters. And then just in case, I want to say with recurring nightmares, you always want to get back either a zombie master, you know, that you could use again, or a Stein, you know, anything that, you know, you really can use again. But if not, you know, you almost always want to go in to double specter with your recurring nightmare just for more draw power hand traps. Double MST, I really feel like, you know, didn't really need triple since you have Alucard at 3 to spam. And on this video, I'm just simply going to be covering the deck. I will be covering the extra and the side in a second video. But in this video, I will just be covering the deck, because it's simply just a lot to explain and such. And Ghost Trick Panic here, have them at 2. 2's enough simply because you don't want to take too much space for other great traps. Of course, needle sealing, create abuse with this, especially when your opponent goes for their own OTKs. 2 fiendish chains. Everything else is just like to keep your advantage going, stop your opponents more than anything. And you want full responsive traps. Like, just like, how can I say, you want like full speed traps. And like, what I don't mean like speed as in, oh, spell speed 3, you know. And I feel like a guy that I watch a lot, you know, I'm subscribed to him as well, Asian Eyes, he described it the best. It's just like traps that answer as soon as an opponent, you know, like drops a monster on the field or activates anything, you know, like immediately. So say like Torrential Tribute, you know, or Compulse, or, you know, Solemn Warning, or Bottomless Trap Hole. Deal with the monster, just like Fiendish Chain, Black Horn of Heaven. All deal with the monster as soon as it arrives, as well as like Overworked can deal with the monster as soon as it arrives. You know, you don't really want like, you know, like traps that wait, like Dimensional Prison, or like Mirror Force, simply because, you know, it might, you know, they just might happen to just clear your side of the field, you know, with their monsters, or, you know, like their spells and traps, you know, before going in with their monsters, you know, on anything. You know, it's like, oh, okay, I'm a summon, see if I can bait out, you know, and, you know, okay, you know, he didn't bait out anything to the summon, so it must be something to the attack. So then now I'm going to destroy it since I know it's something to the attack, and that's, you know, I'm gonna be able to just summon freely since I know he didn't stop anything to my first summon, so I'm gonna just summon freely, and then before I will attack, you know, I'm just gonna clear it before I attack. You know? That way, you know, just making his plays that much more better. So that's the main deck. I mean, a lot to say, you know. And like I said, you know, with Jiangxi, you know, if it's all preference, you know, on how really you want to do it. But like I said, the main focus of the deck is just to simply catch your opponent, you know, at that one opportune advantage where you happen to have, like, say, like best scenarios to have one level 3 on the field and Zombie Master and Mizuki in your hand. You know, at least one of each in your hand, and you can just go off from there. You know, like just explode from there, and, you know, hopefully get over whatever they have, you know. And, you know, there's many, it's a very not that linear of a deck, but I'll explain more in the second video of this deck discussion. This will be Prince Dragoon signing out.